Joining me this afternoon, head coach of the AAA Ice Winnipeg Midget U18 female hockey team, now into the finals, Eugene Kaminsky. Say that 5 times fast. Thank you, Eugene, for setting this up, because it feels like March Madness. Traveling has been March Madness. Now you are set, one of 2 teams to hit the finals here come this weekend. First thing we got to talk about, Eugene. Welcome to the show. Thanks for taking some time.
Well, thank you for including me, for taking the opportunity to showcase the female game at this point. Thank you very much. It's
the right month to do it, considering the fact that we had every broadcast last weekend covered by all female groups, which was amazing. Huge shout out to a lot of the girls that were involved in front of and behind the camera. This team begins assembling last year in May, correct? During a draft.
Yeah. So we were close to 11 months ago putting this team together for sure.
And this is new charted waters, which we'll get to later on, being in the finals. Last year we made it to the semis.
Yes.
A lot of that team, how much of that team is returned into this season?
We have returning out of the 17 players. We have 1 goalie returning. We have 5 defensemen returning, and we have 4 forwards returning. So a good group of girls returning.
Good group to lead the way. They know what playoff hockey is like at the midget U18 level. Now we begin the regular season. You had quite the regular season, Eugene. The record 31-17-1-1, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah.
A good record on the road, 15-6, which is important because your rank versus. Do you play out of the Seven Oaks Arena? You don't play at the Seven Oaks as well, do you?
No, our home games are based out of the Iceplex.
Right. So you guys home ground is Iceplex, but you still have the 16-11-1 record, but on the road 15-6. So you're battle tested both on and off the road. How important is that to have a good record away from home, as well as making sure your barn is well protected?
I think it's really important. I think being able to go into another venue, and a lot of times they're very hostile, and a lot of times when we're going out to play games, such as in Shoal Lake or Hartney or even St. Anne's for sometimes, is you don't get a lot of the fan support. So the girls are going in there, and there'll always be a few parents that'll come out to make the trek to come out and watch the girls, but you don't get that support. So it's all on them and all on the staff to make sure they're prepared for those games. So it's important that they feel confident going into areas that maybe they're not as welcome to. So so being able to play on the road has been, for any of the good teams, you have to be successful on the road.
Finished off the season extremely well. Tell us what it was like going into that first series of playoff hockey, knowing that you had a bit of experience from last year, but you wanted to continue and go farther this year.
Yeah, we set the bar for ourselves going into this season. Our expectations were more than just winning a first round. We knew we did that last year, and based on paper coming into it, we knew we could do that again. We finished off strong. We finished off second in the league, which gave us a good first opening round. And like any round that we've gone through these past series, we've learned things about ourselves, about the team, about the individuals. And our first series against Central Plains, it wasn't easy. We won it in 4, but it definitely wasn't easy. Central Plains was a very strong, competitive team. They have great goaltending. We were out shooting them, but not scoring. We lost our second game, which gave us an opportunity to pull back and say, you know what, this isn't going to be easy. We had a good conversation with the girls. We talked about the commitment. We talked about what they needed to do if they wanted to go far. We talked about how special they are with regards to having a special opportunity. And I think that was a really good wake-up call. And then we realized after that, we were a good team, and we won the next 3 games, next 2 games, I should say. And it set us up going into the second round really well.
So that second round now this is now the finals you're talking about, correct?
Well, Central Plains was the quarterfinals.
Okay.
And Yellowhead was the semifinals. That went a total of 5 games. It was a best of 5, so we went right to the final 5th game. And really, both teams, it could have been a coin flip. That 5th game, it could have been won by anybody. There wasn't much difference between us and Yellowhead. Even in the standings, I think they were separated by 2 points. So it was quite easy for us to walk away from that. We could have lost it, but the girls committed in that 5th game. We had great goaltending by Morgan Baker, who shut out Yellowhead for the 2nd time in the series, and which, as you know, goaltending is what you really need. That can make you really successful or really hurt you. And she came through us in that 5th game and allowed us to get into the finals now.
Yeah, you talk about goaltending. I'm talking about your entire team in general. I mean, you look at that one stat that everyone talks about, that one stat as a team, whether it be wins, losses, seeding. I always look at goal differential. And your plus minus this year in the regular season was a plus 55, which is telling me one of 2 things, or both things actually. You know how to score, and you know how to keep the puck out of your own net. Which one is stronger of the 2?
You know what? It's really interesting because during the year, we have a lot of gifted players on the forward line and on the defensive side that can score. And we knew going in that wasn't going to be our concern. That wasn't going to be an issue that we could score. We knew we were going to get opportunities to score. Not that we were concerned about our goalies, but that was always going to be our question mark going in. It was their 2nd year in the league, and they still have 1 more to go. Both Ryland and Morgan played well for us. I think by their own admission, they would say during the regular season, they may have not had spectacular. They played well enough for us to be competitive, but it was a lot of our offense and our defense that was able to keep us in a lot of those games. And then it was sort of unique in the sense that when we came into the playoffs, all of a sudden the scoring, the offense wasn't there, but the goaltending kicked in for us. And that seemed to make the difference because we had games, like I said, we would get 60 shots on a goalie, but only come away with 2-3 goals. And that was evident even in our last game against Yellowhead, where they outshot us. I think it was 34-24. We ended up winning 3-0. That was, it was 0-0 with 7 minutes left in the 3rd period. So, and that was on Morgan keeping us in the game until we were able to get that one. So again, total team, didn't matter what it was in the situation during the year, whether we had to rely upon our goalies, whether we had to rely upon our defensive play or our offensive, they seemed to come through when it needed it, for sure.
Goaltenders stepped up in the playoffs because they have to. The goal scoring has been there throughout the regular season. Any unsung heroes on this squad? I mean, it's a balanced team, like you said, from top to bottom. Any line can score. The defense like to move up. The unsung hero, who's really stepped up in the last month in your eyes, that's really kind of taken the lead that you would not have really expected to?
Well, you know, it's not so much that I don't know if I didn't expect. There's a couple of girls that stood out for us. Reagan Udall and Martina Barclay. They had a wonderful series against Yellowhead. And if I think back, and I'm going to estimate this, but I want to say I think we got about 10 goals in that series against Yellowhead, and Martina and Reagan accounted for 6 of those goals. Yeah. So for them, that was huge. And it was, for us, it was really big because we needed those players to step up. We have quality scorers, you know, like Julia Bird and Juliana Duma, and Reagan's right up there. But it was in the series that they came through for us in scoring key goals at key moments. And we hope that continues. But I always know when it comes to a playoff series, like you said, there's that one person you don't expect to step up for you, and you just hope they do. And someone always scores that big goal for you, makes that great defensive play. I couldn't say enough for Sid Bird and Kira Christensen, who I relied upon them to really shut down Yellowhead's #1 unit, and they were tasked with that, and they came through with flying colors. So again, it was a complete team effort, but there's always a few people that step up that you don't expect, and they gave a better effort. Now, again, I can go on and on and on, and I know we don't have that much time, but yeah, there's so many girls that did so many spectacular things for us.
Let's talk about the two opponents you faced in the playoffs thus far, Central Plains and Yellowhead. What about their game made it so difficult that the first series going 4 and Yellowhead going 5, that, like you said, it could have been a coin toss? What was so difficult about their game that gave you, troubles throughout both playoff series?
Well, Central Plains, their goaltending stepped up. She played fantastic. Like I said, there was one game we put 60 shots, and another game we put close to 40 shots on her. And that was the most difficult, and that was the most thing that we had to learn from, is just be patient. We're doing all the right things. Continue what you're doing. The pucks are going to go in. And that was one of the things the girls had to learn, is to be true to what we're doing, and it will pay off. And it did. Yellowhead, that was a team that they had a lot of talent up front. They had some really good defensemen. They had good goaltending. They would pressure our defense, and from that series, we learned that we're going to have to be quick on the puck and move the pucks up quickly. We're not going to have time to take a look. We're not going to have time to make a second choice. You're going to have to go with your first choice, and you're going to have to know what your first choice is before you even get to the puck. And that was the one thing we learned about Yellowhead, because they were an aggressive team. And going into this next series, we expect a lot of the same.
Speaking of the next series, we'll get back to that final setup. We'll set it all up right after this. This is On the Ice, brought to you by Pembina, Source for Sports. Back with Eugene Kaminsky, head coach of the AAA Ice Midget Under-18 female hockey team, taking on the Winnipeg Avros. The big tilt starts Saturday night. Eugene, you've played this team several times over the course of the regular season. They are clearly the favorites, being the #1 seed. As, I don't want to say little sister, but as the ones that are kind of chomping at their heels, what are you looking forward to this series with the Avros?
It's funny because you're right. It's one of those things when the Avros were playing Westman, everybody was talking about, well, who do you guys want to play? Who do you guys want to play? And there was pros and cons to both of them. Obviously, if Westman was to win the series then against the Avros, then we knew that they're not as good as the Avros, and so obviously would have made our opportunity, because we had won before their series had ended. And so, but at the same point, you want to go up against the best, and the Avros are the best. There's no doubt about it. The record indicates that. They were clearly a cut above everybody else in the league. They beat us 4 times. All 4 times we've played them, they beat us, and they beat us quite handily in 2 of those games. So there's nothing to suggest that I can make any argument to suggest that we're better than they are, unless we win a series. And right now, they are the best team, and they're probably one of the best teams in the country, I would say. So this is going to be an important series for both teams. I think whoever comes out of this has a legitimate shot of moving on to nationals this year.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, you look at, I guess the one question that we need to clarify is, like we talked about 11 months ago, that both of these teams are put together because they're done through the same draft process, correct? And
yes,
talk about the talent pool that's in the Winnipeg area, the catchment area. What does that tell you about U18 female hockey here in Winnipeg and how strong of a program it is?
Oh, it's very strong. And I think we talked about this last time we had a conversation about when they first thought about putting these programs together, I know there was a lot of backlash with regards to having a second Winnipeg team because they felt that was going to water down the program. There wasn't enough talent. As it was difficult for one team to be successful. Now try to throw a second team in there, just make it worse. But I knew from my standpoint that coming up through the bantam ranks and everything, there was a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent to still come up. And it's proven that even in these 2 years, both teams have been very competitive. We finished fourth the previous year. Now we finished second. Avros are always been up there near the top. So the talent is there. And you got two teams with quality coaching staffs. I don't think there's any concern. Like, there might be little blips here and there, but I think the talent pool within the city is very strong. As a matter of fact, even from some of the releases, we had girls that didn't play on the team, they found opportunities to play on other AAA teams outside the city. So, and I know coming up, there's still going to be even more. So, not too worried about the talent coming up, but it speaks volumes to the quality of players that Winnipeg is now producing.
Okay, so Eugene, I'm going to ask you to be honest with me here. Being the coach, going into the finals, how well are you going to match up against the Avros in this heated finals battle? I mean, this is the cream of the crop, cherry on top, female hockey, I think, in Manitoba. Talent-wise, competitiveness. I mean, talk about it. Like you said, you guys are 0-4 against the Avros. That elusive set of wins could happen here in the finals. What's it going to take for your team, for those to mount up and become champion and lift that trophy at the end of the finals?
Well, there's going to be for us, there's going to be a lot of things, because I know Avros are going to have their A game and we're going to have our A game. And it'll go down to goaltending has to be very good. We're going to have to stay out of the penalty box. Avros have a good power play. We're going to have to be more productive on our power play against them. We haven't been very successful against them on the power play, so those are one things that we're going to have to get better at. And we're just going to have to continue work every shift. It's going to be a lot of cliches that we're going to throw at the girls. It's one shift at a time, one period at a time, one game at a time. And, you know, no one's going to win a series in game one, and no one's going to win a series in the first period. So it's going to come down to keeping them focused. Like, let's not kid ourselves. There's no love lost between a lot of these players, between each other. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard fought. Like I said, they're a very talented team. It'll be a fun matchup for sure, and we're hoping that we come prepared. And if we do come prepared, I think this is a series that can go right to the final whistle.
Yeah, no, I always ask this next question in concern of vocabulary, because you always talk about the feeling out period in the first 10 minutes of the hockey game. Is there really a need for a feeling out process, or is it just getting your own legs under you and playing your own game? And we could throw out 5 more cliches if we wanted to, Eugene. And the bottom line is, you just need your team to bring their best game forward and play your game. I'm pretty sure that's the big overall message.
Oh, without a doubt. I think I know the Avros, Ashley Van Aglen, she's going to have that team really well prepared. I wouldn't anticipate they're going to take us lightly. I know they know that we're a good team. They're going to come out strong. Those first 5-10 minutes, first few shifts that each girl is going to have, it's going to have to be an intense shift. You can't play passive. You have to be aggressive with your feet and with your play, but you also have to be playing smart. And I think you're right. I think there's no feeling out. We know each other very well. We know what their strengths are. We just have to be able to work harder than they were prepared to work. And that's really what it's going to come down to. I think the talent-wise is basically the same. It's going to come down to who wants it more.
Players are going to play. They're going to leave it all on the ice. Last question, Eugene, before I let you go. Your daughter is still coaching you. You're with your team, correct? How is that relationship on the bench with the two of you? And have you had any issues that have been causing any turmoil?
No, it's a good relationship. Like I said, between Jessica and myself, father-daughter situation, I think there's a little bit more luxury and freedom to speak your mind when you're talking to your dad or you're talking to your daughter. She's been fabulous. I think the last series, she did a fantastic job of managing the bench for the forwards, making sure the right people were out in the right time. And when we had to mix it up, there was one game she had to mix it up, and it paid off for us. So I trust her implicitly and on what she's going to do. She doesn't even, for the most part, have to even go through me. It's just, this is what I want to do, and we talk about it, and it's great. It makes my job so much easier when I don't have to worry about that side of the bench, for sure.
Excellent, Eugene. I want to thank you very much for taking a bit of time this afternoon. Game 1, March 14th, Seven Oaks Arena. Check it all out. It's the finals. Winner of this series will then be the Manitoba representative for the Esso Cup between
the winner of Manitoba
Saskatchewan play.
Saskatchewan will be coming to Manitoba this year, or more specifically to Winnipeg this year,
right,
to play somebody.
So that we got this matchup, then we got that matchup, then we got the Esso Cup. So we're laying it all out, Eugene. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time. This has been On the Ice, brought to you by Pembina, Source for Sports.